Welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be looking into some pretty fascinating stuff today. Ancient wisdom, advanced civilizations, esoteric knowledge, all that good stuff. Spiritual evolution, too. You sent me a really interesting collection of excerpts. It seems to touch on a lot of metaphysical and new age ideas. So I'm curious to see what we find.
Yeah, there's definitely a mix of sources there. Should be
Yeah.
interesting to see how it all ties together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start with something that really caught my eye, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Have you heard of these?
Oh yeah, the Emerald Tablets. Fascinating stuff. Thoth, he's depicted as this almost mythical figure, right? Like a son of Atlantis who supposedly journeyed to this hidden realm called Amenti
Hmm.
to preserve knowledge. And the idea is that the tablets, they hold all these secrets, deep secrets that you really have to study carefully to unlock.
Okay, so it's like straight out of Indiana Jones, right? Like what kind of secrets are we talking about here?
Well, they delve into a lot of things like the nature of reality, spiritual evolution, the path to enlightenment, all that. They even mention that pyramid priests use these tablets as like talismans of authority. Makes you wonder what kind of power they thought they held.
Right. Makes me think of those old stories like about hidden libraries and scrolls and forbidden knowledge and stuff. Speaking of hidden knowledge, there's also this whole concept of children of light that pops up. What do you make of that?
Children of light, huh? Interesting term. It seems like they're described as these beings, they guide and protect humanity, almost like guardian angels or some kind of benevolent overseers. They're working behind the scenes, to help us evolve.
Oh, okay. So maybe we're not so alone in this whole self-discovery journey after all. It's a comforting thought in a way. But these sources also talk about a path of mastery, and they say it requires freedom from fear and conquering the formless. I don't know. What does that even mean?
Yeah, that's a big one. And it's something that, these teachings really encourage you to think about. What fears hold you back? What are your limitations? They call it the bondage of night, right?
Yeah.
It's about figuring out those internal obstacles and then, overcoming them, unlocking your potential.
Mm. Yeah. Sounds like it takes some serious courage to face those fears. Interesting how they tie in inner transformation with this bigger idea of, humanity evolving.
Absolutely. They even talk about the nature of reality itself, right? Different dimensions, different planes of existence. But it's not about one being like above or below the other. More like they operate under different laws, like different levels of video game.
Whoa, okay. So we could be living in this like multidimensional reality without even knowing it. That's kind of a mind-blowing thought. What does that mean for us, though?
Well, it kind of suggests that we're all part of this, much bigger interconnected system. Maybe we're all working on different levels of understanding, the universal laws, like students in different grades. And there's this prophecy actually that humans will eventually, evolve to the point where they become deathless, living as, and I'm quoting here, light among men.
Deathlessness, that's a big one. You think it's literally about living forever, or is there something more to it?
Yeah, that's a great question. It could be a literal interpretation, but maybe it's more about, transcending our current understanding of life and death, maybe achieving a state of consciousness where we're not afraid of death anymore.
That makes sense. It's about becoming more than just our physical bodies. And speaking of bodies, these teachings talk about humans having a threefold nature: physical, astral, and mental bodies, each with three qualities. Have you looked into that at all?
Oh, the three bodies. Yeah, that's a common idea in a lot of different spiritual traditions. The concept is that we're not just physical, right? We have this astral body associated with emotions, and then a mental body associated with thoughts and beliefs. And they each have three qualities, so 9 in total.
Nine. Wow. That's pretty complex. I guess finding balance is important.
Yeah, think of it like a finely tuned instrument. If one string's out of whack, it throws the whole thing off. They even go into detail about like the three channels of the physical body:
Hmm.
blood, magnetism, and this thing called akasa. It's a subtle energy flow. They say that mastering those, that's the secret to life in the body.
So it's about like understanding and harmonizing all these different parts of ourselves. Sounds like a lifelong project.
It is, it is. But even just, making those small steps to understand and balance those aspects, it can really make a difference. These teachings, they really want us to see ourselves as, these multifaceted beings with so much potential for growth.
Okay, yeah. Starting to get a sense of just how deep and complex these teachings are. This isn't your typical self-help stuff. What else can you tell me about these sources? Okay, so we're talking about the human energy system, right? There's this concept, the silver violet flame, that I found really interesting. What's the deal with that?
Oh yeah, the silver violet flame. It's described as this incredibly potent spiritual energy. Like for purification, they say it can transmute negative energy, cleanse your consciousness, your mind, your body, everything.
So it's like a spiritual washing machine for
Yeah.
the soul.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. The idea is that we pick up all this energetic gunk, right,
Yeah.
throughout our lives. Negative thoughts, emotions, those limiting beliefs, past traumas, all that stuff. And the silver violet flame just clears it all out, leaving you feeling lighter, more vibrant.
Okay, I could definitely use some of that. How do you how do you work with the silver violet flame?
They talk about using like mantras or affirmations, to invoke the silver violet flame, to direct its energy. Like, for example, there's this one, I am a being of violet fire. I am the purity God desires.
Okay, so it's about using sound and intention to activate this energy.
Exactly. It's a powerful tool for, spiritual growth and healing and all that good stuff.
Interesting. Now, these sources also talk about different dimensions and realms. One that caught my eye was the fifth dimension. What is that all about?
The fifth dimension, they describe it as this realm of light, and a lot of souls, they go there after death. It's seen as this place of higher consciousness.
Yeah.
You can continue to evolve spiritually.
So it's like a higher vibrational reality,
Right,
where we can keep learning and growing.
Right. And they contrast that with what they call the illusionary heavens that exist in the astral realms, like on the seventh level. These heavens, they might seem blissful, but they're seen as like traps,
Mhm.
keeping souls from moving on.
It's like a cautionary tale about getting caught up in desires and distractions even after death.
Exactly. It's about, focusing on genuine spiritual growth, not just fleeting pleasures. And speaking of overcoming distractions, there's this really cool part where they use the story of King Arthur and Excalibur as a metaphor for spiritual awakening.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, the sword and the stone, right?
Right.
The magical sword. How does that tie into spirituality?
Well, in this context, it's not a literal sword.
Yeah.
It's a sword of like crystalline light. It represents our inner power, that ability to cut through the darkness, the ignorance, the illusions, and connect with our true potential.
So we all have our own Excalibur waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. That power to awaken, it's within each of us.
I like that. Now, I wanted to talk about Ascended Masters because it's something I've heard of them, but never really understood who or what they are.
Ascended masters. Yeah, they're often portrayed as these highly evolved spiritual beings, like they've achieved enlightenment and gone beyond the limits of the physical world. And they act as guides and teachers for humanity.
Okay, so spiritual mentors who have graduated to a higher level.
Yeah, exactly. But, and this is interesting, there's this warning in these teachings about giving your power away to external figures, even to ascended masters.
Huh, that is interesting. Why would they say that?
Because ultimately, true spiritual empowerment comes from within.
Yeah.
Right? If you're always relying on external saviors, it can actually hinder your own growth.
It's a reminder to take responsibility for our own journey. Now, these sources also talk about karma, which is often, it's portrayed as this system of cosmic rewards and punishments. What's their take on it?
It's interesting because they challenge that traditional view of good and bad karma. It's more nuanced, more about balance in the lessons we learn.
Oh, okay. So it's not about being punished for our past, but about growing from our experiences.
Yeah, exactly. They encourage you to see karma as an opportunity for growth, for understanding, not judgment, right? They even have this affirmation, I am karma-free, to help you step out of that whole cycle of cause and effect.
That's powerful. It's a whole different way of thinking about karma. Now, these teachings also mention the Earth's initiation into a new evolutionary phase. What exactly does that mean?
They focus on the Earth's alignment, with the equinoxes and the solstices, suggesting that the planet's going through some pretty significant energetic changes. It's about letting go of old patterns, embracing the new energy that's coming in.
So the Earth's going through its own transformation.
Seems like it. And it's funny because they also talk about the importance of laughter, and spiritual lightheartedness.
A reminder to not take ourselves too seriously, even when we're talking about deep stuff.
Exactly. They even mention laughter yoga as a way to, to bring more joy and lightness into spiritual practice.
Love it. Laughter is definitely good medicine. Now, there's a section on thought forms that really caught my attention. What are those?
Thought forms are basically mental creations, but they have the potential to manifest in the physical world. These teachings suggest that our thoughts, our beliefs, they can actually impact our well-being, even, manifest as physical ailments.
So our thoughts can create our reality.
Well, it's not quite that simple, but they are saying that our mental and emotional states, they have a big impact on our physical health. Negative thoughts, beliefs, they can create these like energetic blockages, while positive ones, they can promote healing and well-being.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a good reminder to be more mindful of our thoughts,
Hmm.
cultivate that positive mindset. Now, they also discuss the heart chakra quite a bit. What's so important about that?
Well, the heart chakra, right, it's seen as the center of love, compassion, connection. These teachings really emphasize the importance of opening your heart chakra to receive that love and light. And they suggest things like visualization, deep breathing, to help with that process.
It's about cultivating that sense of inner peace and connection. Now, there's a section on extraterrestrial beings. What's their take on that?
They claim that extraterrestrials, they are present. They're watching us. They encourage us to, look for signs, in the skies. And they even say that if we raise our vibration, it might make it easier to actually perceive them.
So there's more to the universe than we realize, and we might be limiting ourselves with our current perception of reality.
Exactly. There's always more to discover.
That's a good point. I'm curious about this whole raising our vibration thing. And they talk about chakra balancing too, right?
Oh, yeah, they give you like a step-by-step visualization for balancing your chakras. You start at the root and you move up, all the way to the crown. Each chakra has a color and you breathe in that color's energy to like activate and balance each chakra.
Okay, so it's a very visual, experiential way to work with your energy. They also mention affirmations, right? What do they say about those?
Affirmations are seen as really powerful tools to align your thoughts and beliefs with what you want to create. These sources suggest using specific affirmations, like to activate your light body, balance your karma, raise your vibrational frequency.
So we can consciously shape our reality using affirmations.
That's the idea. We have more power than we realize. Now, we were talking about ascended masters earlier, and there's this whole section on the collective consciousness of ascended masters. What is that all about? Well, they clarified that ascended masters, they don't exist as individuals anymore. They've merged into like a collective consciousness. And there's this etheric realm called Shambhala, where this consciousness resides.
So like a spiritual headquarters for enlightened beings.
You could say that. And they even talk about these lords and ladies of Shambhala.
Lords and ladies. Sounds very mystical. What do they do?
It's less about what they do, more about who they are. It's about shifting our understanding of spiritual hierarchy. From individual power to this unified consciousness of enlightened beings. They're guides, mentors for humanity's spiritual evolution.
That's a very different perspective than, the traditional idea of like these powerful individual deities. They also mention a Master's Medical Assistance Program, or MAP. What's that about?
The MAP, it's described as this network of spiritual beings who can help with healing.
Oh, like a spiritual healing network.
Right. They say you can like call on your personal MAP team, or you can request a team, for professional healing work.
It's interesting to think that we might have access to that kind of support.
Yeah, and they even mention specific beings who might be on these teams, like the overlighting beings of healing and, get this, Pan.
Pan, the Greek god of nature.
The one and only. It's so cool how they bring in these different spiritual traditions, and mythologies. They even give you practical steps for connecting with your MAP team, like talking out loud or just mentally requesting their assistance.
That's really helpful. Now, they also talk about crystals. What's their perspective on those?
Well, they describe these experiments they did to test the vibrational levels of natural crystals versus synthetic ones. And they claim that natural quartz crystals, they have a much higher vibration.
So natural crystals are more potent energetically?
That's what they're saying. And they also talk about shaping crystals, to amplify and direct their energy.
It's fascinating to think about crystals as tools for spiritual growth and healing. They mention the MerKaBa too, right? What can you tell me about that?
The MerKaBa, yeah. They describe it as a light body vehicle, this Atlantean tool for, spiritual transformation.
Atlantean, like from the lost city of Atlantis.
Exactly. They're suggesting that it's this ancient technology, that's being rediscovered now.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. What can you do with a MerKaBa?
Well, they claim it can enhance communication on all levels, and it can facilitate permanent liberation from the physical body.
Permanent liberation. What does that mean?
It suggests a really profound level of transformation, like the possibility of transcending our physical limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even achieving that, deathlessness we were talking about earlier.
Okay, that does sound incredible. What else do they say about the MerKaBa?
Well, they connected these things called star tetrahedrons, which are like these three-dimensional geometric shapes that surround your body. There's one that's static and then two that counter-rotate. They represent like your emotional body and your mental body.
Star tetrahedrons. This is getting pretty complex, so what do?
They say that the right rotating one, that's connected to your emotional body. And the left rotating one, that's connected to your mental body. And apparently in most people, the emotional tetrahedron is like rotating slower than the mental one.
Is that why we're all so emotional? Our emotional bodies are lagging behind?
That's their explanation, yeah.
Yeah.
And they even say that, like, radiation can slow down the vibration of the emotional body, leading to, fear and chaos and all that.
Okay, so balancing these star tetrahedrons is important for our well-being.
Exactly. They say that balancing the counter-rotation, that's key to emotional well-being. And that if you accelerate your MerKaBa beyond the speed of light, you can actually shift into another dimension.
Wait, hold on. Dimensional shifting. Are we talking time travel or something?
Not exactly time travel, but it's suggesting that we can access like different dimensions of reality through our consciousness, through energy manipulation.
That is wild. How do you actually, accelerate your MerKaBa?
They talk about visualization, affirmation as techniques for, balancing the star tetrahedrons and speeding up the MerKaBa.
So again, it's about harnessing the power of our minds to, literally change our reality.
Exactly. We have way more power than we realize.
This is getting pretty deep. I'm ready to hear more about these dimensional shifts and, what else these sources have to say about the MerKaBa. What else is there? Okay, so we were talking about the MerKaBa and star tetrahedrons and all this. It's pretty sci-fi stuff, right? Did they give any more details about how it all works?
Yeah, they claim that if you can speed up the counter rotation of your star tetrahedrons faster than the speed of light, you can actually shift into a different dimension.
Wow. Okay. I mean, is there any evidence to support this, or is it all just theoretical?
A lot of what they present is based on, personal experiences, interpretations of ancient wisdom, that kind of thing. It's up to each person to decide what resonates with them, what feels, credible. But they do mention some interesting anecdotes that seem to support their claims.
Oh, like what?
Well, for instance, they say that a group MerKaBa, where multiple people synchronize their MerKabas,
Yeah.
can actually be detected on radar.
Really? That's pretty wild.
Yeah, they even talk about using group MerKaBa to interact with the Russian and Chinese militaries. It caused quite a stir, apparently.
Whoa, so it's like spiritual activism meets espionage or something. Sounds a little risky, though.
It definitely pushes the boundaries, but it speaks to the power of, group consciousness, group intention. They also mentioned this thing called the Stargate Project, which you might find interesting.
The Stargate Project, like the movie.
It seems to be drawing on some similar ideas. They describe it as like a project, and it was connected to channeling, communicating with, ascended masters. They mentioned these two guys, John and Gordon, as being key figures in the project.
So they were trying to open portals to other dimensions.
It doesn't say that specifically, but they do talk about developing a new Stargate design based on a six-pointed star. And they claim it had some pretty amazing effects on the energy field, even on DNA.
Okay, so they were experimenting with consciousness, with technology, maybe even interdimensional travel. It's fascinating how it all ties back to ancient knowledge, ancient wisdom. Now, they also mention the Order of Melchizedek and the Great White Brotherhood. What can you tell me about those?
The Order of Melchizedek. They describe it as this spiritual lineage that holds a direct connection to God. And they clarified that the Great White Brotherhood, which is often associated with the Order of Melchizedek, it actually includes both male and female members. They're very clear that it's an inclusive path. And they claim there are 72 orders within the Great White Brotherhood, each with its own unique wavelength. And their mission is to construct this thing called the Christ grid, or the unity grid, around the Earth.
The Christ grid, what's that?
Think of it like a grid of spiritual energy that's being woven around the planet.
Right.
To support humanity's shift into a higher level of consciousness. They even mentioned the Rosicrucians as an example of an order that emerges and disappears at certain times, working on specific aspects of this grid.
Wow. So there are all these different groups working behind the scenes to help us evolve.
It's a nice thought, isn't it? That we might have some unseen support.
It is, and they emphasize that all these orders, they're all independent, but they're all working for, for the greater good, for humanity, for the planet. Now, we were talking earlier about the MerKaBa as this, this powerful tool for transformation. Do they give any more insights into its nature, its potential?
Yeah, they go a little deeper, explaining it as like a geometric structure that extends through all dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And they say that it becomes activated when your mind and heart are in unity.
Mm-hmm.
And they stress that, the MerKaBa, it can be anything you imagine it to be. It's a gateway to unlimited possibilities.
So it's not just a vehicle for like dimensional travel, but also a tool for manifestation, for creative expression.
Exactly. It's all about realizing the power of your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions to shape reality. They even tie this into the idea of planetary grids, saying that they're a reflection of the energy fields around the human body.
Wait, so the Earth has its own energy grid, like we do, and they're connected somehow.
That's what they suggest. They talk about different grids associated with different species, and then this unique grid for humanity.
Yeah.
They even connect this shift into, like, Christ consciousness with the activation of a new grid, one that's based on pentagons.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. The personal, the planetary, the cosmic, it's all connected. And they talk about group consciousness too, right?
Oh, yeah. They really emphasize that, saying that, the actions of one person, they can affect the whole grid. They even use the example of, like, Jesus' resurrection as this act that made that possibility available to everyone.
So we're all connected and our actions have ripple effects throughout the whole collective.
That's the idea. And they highlight the role of children in this whole shift, believing that, children are closer to the truth and they'll lead humanity into this new reality.
It's a hopeful thought that future generations might be able to like navigate these changes with more ease.
It is. They even mention, like, star children who are born with higher levels of consciousness.
That's beautiful. Now, these sources seem to offer a really optimistic view of humanity's future. Do they address any of the challenges we're facing? You mentioned something earlier about HARP.
Oh, yeah, they do touch on some potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
Like the misuse of technology, for example. They express some concern about HARP, the high-frequency active auroral research program, and its ability to, manipulate the ionosphere.
That sounds serious. What are the dangers of HARP?
Well, they suggest it could be used for things like, weather modification, mind control, even destruction of the ionosphere, which is pretty vital. Protects us from harmful radiation.
Wow, that's a lot to think about. It's a reminder that technology is a double-edged sword.
Absolutely. And they encourage us to, to become informed, to question the narratives we're being told, and to make conscious choices about how we engage with technology.
Knowledge is power, and it's our responsibility to use it wisely.
Right. And they also really stress the importance of self-love, following your heart, that kind of thing.
So, like, prioritize self-care, pursue your passions. Good advice any day.
Exactly. They believe that, aligning with your true path, that's what leads to harmony with the earth, with spiritual unfoldment.
Follow your bliss, and the universe will support you.
That's the gist of it. They really emphasize, living a life that feels good, connecting with nature. They even share this story about the Kogi tribe from the Amazon. They're known for their deep connection to nature and, like, their psychic abilities.
I've heard of the Kogi. They're considered like guardians of the earth, right?
Yes. They have some really interesting perspectives to share. They actually claim that they see, like, modern humans as dead because we lack, life force energy.
Dead. That's a bit intense, isn't it?
It is, but it highlights the, the difference in consciousness between those who are so connected to nature and those who are, more caught up in the modern world.
Yeah.
They even had this prophecy about the world ending with the eclipse in August of 1999.
The world ending in 1999. Well, obviously that didn't happen.
Right. And they say that something unexpected happened that changed everything. They describe it as a group of people who activated their light bodies, creating, like, a parallel world where life could continue.
Light bodies. Could that be the MerKaBa?
It seems like it. And get this, they actually claim that they sent a message to you thanking you for teaching the MerKaBa.
Wow. So the Kogi knew about the MerKaBa and recognized its power to change reality.
It seems so. They even sent you gifts as a sign of gratitude. And they talk about the importance of, learning to speak without words. Like, that's a more direct form of communication.
This is like telepathy.
Not exactly telepathy, but they describe it as communicating through, like, sounds, images, bypassing language.
That's amazing. But how do you learn to do that?
Well, they claim that they actually sent a messenger to teach you how to speak without words. And they describe this woman from Colombia who exhibited this like really ecstatic primal behavior, almost like she was channeling something. And you were able to communicate with her through, nonverbal sounds and images. It was a really powerful experience for both of you.
It's amazing to think that that kind of communication is even possible. So you learn to speak without words from a Kogi messenger.
That's what they say. And the Kogi even invited you to visit their tribe in the Colombian jungle, promising to visit the modern world in return.
A cultural exchange between the Kogi and the modern world. That would be incredible. Well, this has been quite a journey exploring these teachings. We've covered so much from ancient wisdom and extraterrestrials to, chakra balancing and dimensional shifting.
Yeah, it's a lot to process, but I think there are some really powerful messages here. What stood out to you?
I think for me, the most powerful message is about personal responsibility.
Yeah.
We have the power to heal, to transform, to create a better world. It's not about waiting for someone to save us or relying on some ancient prophecy. It's about, stepping into our power, aligning with our true nature, and choosing love over fear.
That's beautiful. And as you continue to explore these concepts, remember this. If you could speak without words, what message would you share with the world? How would you use your energy to create positive change?
That's a great question to ponder. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the mysteries of consciousness and spiritual evolution. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.